Hey there, today I'm going to show you how to add Xcode Cloud to an Xcode project. I've got this app here that's just a little soccer app for like substitutions. I coach soccer for a kids team, and just like who's going to play every part of each quarter in the league, and you can toggle it off as things happen, so you can see it easily on my phone whenever I have to figure out who's playing and who's sitting on the bench for temporarily. So little app, haven't put it. I actually just pushed it up to GitHub earlier, and so it exists as a GitHub repo here in my in my GitHub account. So to set up Xcode Cloud, we come over here to the build tab, I guess, probably report navigator, I guess. Anyway, but there's a cloud section. So this is like the home for Xcode Cloud. This is like the UI, like home within Xcode and where it lives. So we're just gonna say get started. I do have all my accounts linked, which is like in settings and accounts here. So you can see like there's my personal, there's my Apple account, and also here's my GitHub account. So those are linked already. So it's not a surprise to Xcode where GitHub lives. But you say choose product. This only has one target right now, so I'm going to choose this one in this particular one. It has a bunch of default stuff here, which you can edit, and we will certainly be editing. Let's just see what it has. So we can give it whatever name. For example, like on this one, I want to make it where it builds every time I push to the main branch. That's kind of a relatively common thing, I would imagine. So I'm just going to kind of leave most things as is, but you can give it a name or a description because you can have many different workflows. I think this object we're defining here is a workflow. You can also restrict it if you have like multiple types of folks on your App Store account. Primary repository, here it gets it from the origin, I believe. Like it already knows kind of what the get setup is like on it, and then which project or workspace. And like I said, this is a simple one with just one. Environment, this is where you say like, okay, I want it to build on the beta. Here I'm actually running, this Xcode you're seeing here is Xcode 16. I might be a beta or two behind, but it's the currently in beta 1, and I'm also on Sequoia as well from a Mac perspective. So here we can say we actually want to build it with the latest as well. So maybe I'll do that. So latest beta or release will always keep it updated, and it tells you what the current one is, but they'll update behind the scenes. These will like pin, if you choose one of these, it'll pin it specifically to to one of those things. And what Xcode version you want and what macOS version you want, I might as well just be on the beta or release for both of them. You can add environment variables here, I guess, that isn't necessarily needed for this bit. Start conditions, so you can add like different sort of things like pull requests, tags, on a schedule. I actually have a for me only app that's just a monitoring of Pinnet sports data that I have it build once a day, just off the main branch, and it just builds it for me once a day. Obviously, I'm not even changing the code most of the time there, but that's something you can do, or manually start just like triggering it. Here we want a branch change. We want to like anytime my main branch gets a change, run everything. There's probably a ton of customization here as well, like additional conditions and stuff around like specifically what files, if the certain files change, then trigger build there. Auto cancel build. This is like, for example, if I push up something, I realize I have a typo, and then I push up another thing, it will cancel the first one, and that's probably good to do, so you're not just wasting your time and wasting the resources just building that, but of course, whatever you need there. This by default will archive both the macOS version and the iOS version. I'm not entirely sure the macOS version of this app builds, so I'm actually going to remove this, and there's a little trash can up here. This I think is a duplicate if you want to do multiple things, but you can do mini actions. So one workflow is what we're defining here with mini actions. So this is saying archive the iOS platform. This scheme, this has like a couple dependencies because I use merge sorts boutique in this project, and so it has like SQL come along for it. Distribution preparation, so this is I'm not entirely sure actually what it does, but I think usually I'll say none on it, but that we might change that. Post actions, I think you have to fully set up things, so you can see that some of these things, which like the most useful ones are the test flight testing, but unavailable until setup completes. I could use notify. I don't even know what all the options are. I think they do have Slack integration, email integration. That's fun. Maybe I'll add email integration and through my email on there and just see if it tells me about tells me about when this succeeds. I guess you can have it notify on success or failures. Only fixes I imagine would be for if it was broken and then it succeeds, and then don't notify, and then only breaks is if it was succeeding and then it failed. Send those things. So we're going to save this, and this just reconfigured from the default setup that they had, but you could have just done next across the board. So the next bit is just like making sure it's all linked together, so that GitHub knows, or the Xcode knows how to get it from GitHub, because this is not going to be your local Xcode building it. It's going to be Apple's servers building it, and so they need to get it from your GitHub account. And so assume that's all linked. We do these sort of things. I speak English. This is my SKU. This is because I don't actually have this on App Store Connect yet, so this will add it to App Store Connect, which is nice. It's a nice little convenience thing. I imagine this would probably just be skipped if I already had it set up. So yeah, thanks Xcode. And there we go. And so it says choose a branch, start your first build. Of course, this is a brand new project with personal only sort of stuff, but I want to trigger this off main, which is also what we had the start conditions for. So any changes to main would trigger a start condition, but this is saying you want to manually start one off there. So we're gonna kick it off and see what happens. So what you can see here. So like I said, this is like the home for Xcode Cloud. It's this report navigator icon over here. Local would be for if I build it locally. Cloud would be for if Xcode Cloud is building it. Within this, you can see the name of the app, and then these are the workflows we defined. This is the one that we defined first. So within every workflow, there will be, it could be executed on different branches, and this one, of course, is running on the main branch, and this is build number 1. So build number 1 is our first one kind of by default, which is in increments by itself. Here you can see an overview. This was a manual start, and I'll show you how to do that as well later. But this is on the last commit, which workflow is running, all the basics. And then remember there were multiple actions potentially. I removed archive for macOS, but it could be building in parallel, archiving it for macOS. But here we're just running one action. This is what we see here, and we can see like an artifacts afterwards. You can see logs. This usually takes a minute to load, but we can see that hopefully soon. What's interesting also, and I don't know exactly how live it is, but natively, what's interesting also, and I'm not entirely sure how live it is, but we can natively see things on the web UI as well. So if I find in my App Store Connect, Soccer Pals, the one that we just made, so this is brand new. There's actually a tab over here on the website of things. So this is running as well. So this is the same. It's a different UI. It's the same backing information here, except it's not loading right now on Xcode. Or there we go. So now we can kind of see all the log messages through the building. That we can also see on web, so you could dig into this as well. I guess clicking on build number will take you to the same sort of UI, and then the actions will take you to the same sort of things like that, and logs you should be able to see kind of the same process as well. So 2 different UIs, for whatever you're looking for. I usually just kind of keep everything in Xcode here, and then it's done, it's built. But we never told it to do anything with this build. So what happens is it shows up in archives, so we can download these. Like we can download the archives, the log. I'm guessing these are just different variants of the builds. But anyway, we can download this, but of course that's not really what we always want to do. So what I want to do is I want to come back and edit our workflow. So if I command click, double click on or 2-finger click on the default workflow here, I want to edit it. And now, and I don't know why they do it, and actually presumably I got an email. I don't really want to dig through my email right now, but presumably I got an email that said that succeeded. But we can also add new actions. And I just checked my email on my phone, and I sure did. But I want to add internal testing for this as well. So every time I push to my main branch, this is my personal app here, where I'm just gonna like make a change, push it to GitHub, and then a few minutes later, I'll just have it on my phone. I tend to do this when I, am working on sticky widgets or something late at night, and I, make a change. I'm, good for the night. Push it up, go brush my teeth, get back in bed, and see it on my phone, ready to go. It's just that quick because it's a pretty small, relatively speaking app. So here is, to set up this action. We say which artifact do we want to use. So do we want to use Mac OS, or do we want to use iOS, or whichever type of artifact to actually send to testing. And of course, you can add many of these. So you could do both of those things. You could have internal testing for iOS and internal testing for Mac OS. This is what group do you want to add? I don't have any groups here. I think I probably have to bounce out to web to actually create those. So that's what I'm going to do. So back here on my App Store Connect listing, and you can see that that's all succeeded, just like we saw in the other UI as well. I'm going to test flight. I'm going to bounce out here. Internal testing. I'm going to just make it me and add myself to it, which I'm, for uninteresting reasons, I'm in here twice. And so that I should be added to a list. I should have my testing. I don't know. I don't believe test information is required here, but we'll find out. If I pull this up again, let me see if I need to refresh here by just deleting and recreating this. I'm going to add a new group. All right, well, the groups aren't necessarily pulling down, so let's just see. Test information we may need. Oh, that's only for external testing. I'm not entirely sure when it fetches its data, so I'm just going to discard changes, back out of here, come back in, and rerun this. Post actions, internal testing, we're going to archive for iOS, our group, there we go. Now we can see my Tyler group of 1, and that is what we're going to choose. From there, what's it yelling about? Oh, actually, this is what we talked about previously, or I noticed previously, the distribution preparation. This is part of this step. We need to set it to be test flight distribution. Previously, I think it only gave me none and App Store Connect, but in this case, we want to prepare it for internal testing, and you can see the red warnings went away, and our group should still be there, and we're going to save it. And so that should be the thing. That should be what happens now. And so I'm going to test out that the trigger is actually running, because as you remember, this was a manual run whenever it finished the flow. You can double click here and say start build instead of editing your workflow as well. And so that's how you can manually run it. I think if I said start build here, it'd probably ask me what branch I want. Yes. So I can choose from the main branch here. So I got to this point by double clicking on default, because that's the workflow, but I could have double clicked on main, and I believe it probably would just run it. Yeah, it looks like it's going to run it. So I want to test the trigger bit, and so I'm going to come in here and add some small code change. I don't know, something super small like up here. And then I'm gonna just commit this just to make it nice and clean. I'll do it from the UI here, but I don't even know where this lives in Xcode, because I always do things on the command line or in Tower. So I'm gonna make this change to test Xcode cloud trigger. I'm gonna commit and push. Hostage, yeah. Sure, all the way to main and origin main, and push it up. So now that's commit. Normal sort of get commit. That just happened in the background. And then happening in the background is, if we click over here, we can see we have build 2 going now. So build 2 is running, from Xcode Cloud. So that's it as far as what we've done so far is set it up. defined our triggers. We also added the action of after the action, it's called a post action, I guess, of sending it to a test flight group and an internal test flight group, of course. And so in a moment, we should be able to bounce back here and see that if I refresh my browser, I should have build 1 listed as a build for internal testing, maybe not. Let's see here. Oh, I guess we're currently building it, of course. Yeah, so we'll have build 2. So build 1 went nowhere, of course. Build 2 will be listed here, and so once that's complete, that should be in place. You can see that it is running here. It takes a little. Sometimes the UI takes a little bit to update, but it should be in flight. It's usually pretty straightforward. I mean, obviously everything when you're talking about building is going to take a bit of time, but yeah, so that's the basics. I did want to kind of point out a couple things, and you might have seen this in the UI in places, but there is the ability to write custom scripts. So if you do something magical, if you do something like like fast lane ahead of time, or but before a build happens, or if you pull down assets from somewhere, you can do that. So there's 3 different places, 3 different triggers that Xcode Cloud allows you to run scripts, just bash scripts primarily, or actually let's say Z shell is their default. And so anyway, you can make a post clone script. So this runs right after Xcode Cloud clones your repo. A pre-build script, so right before it runs Xcode build, and then a post build script afterwards. And so what you do is you make a special, and here's a nice little picture here to kind of show where those points are. But you make a directory called ci_scripts in your parent directory of your repo. Just in the in the file structure of your project. And so if you make a this directory and you put one of these things in it, they need to be named either ci_post_clone .sh, ci pre Xcode build, or ci post Xcode build, just these shell commands. Then those will run as well. So that's something that we do when I do some work using Xcode Cloud for my work things. We have a design system that every time we make changes to it, it will build a demo app that shows all the components in action. And part of that is bumping the version of the dependency using a shell script. I think we use post clone in this case. So anyway, that's what that looks like, and that's something that is a tool that's possible. There's also, I mean, obviously we didn't go through all the different conditions of how you can trigger things, and there's exclusion criteria, and there's certain folders and filters that things have to happen with, but it's we kind of did the basic stuff. There's also a bunch of other things here, and of course you can dig deeper on this, which is in the Xcode Cloud documentation. Yeah, a lot of interesting things. By default, actually, it bumps version numbers for you. Obviously, some people have different strategies on version numbers and things, and there's all kinds of information here about using custom values or things like that. But what I have by default in this example is that I have version build 1 is build number 1, and build 2 is build number 2, and so it'll increment each time. By default, this project doesn't. I think it just has, it's like a 1, version 1.0 and build 1, and so this increments it by itself afterwards. Let's see if this is how this is doing. If we dive back into it, I have to re-click sometimes. So it looks like it's about done. So it's finishing here, saving artifacts. You'll see this run too. So we obviously saw all the actions previously on the first time around, but the post action will run as soon as the archive runs. Yeah, so that's what that looks like. It's pretty neat, pretty lightweight. Obviously there's a ton of customization you can do, but this was pretty hopefully harmless and painless, I guess, to get set up. And yeah, back in the documentation, there could be a lot of interesting things. I know that pricing is a thing. They originally it was free, and then now it's less free, but still like has a decent amount of like free usage. I don't believe I've ever been billed for it. I don't have the biggest apps and like the longest build times ever doing it, and also like I'm even when I say every commit I push up to see widgets makes a build, I unfortunately don't make that many commits or anything. So anyway, it looks like it's all viewable. Let's see if we can find out where this like usage comes from. It would be a nice cloud tab usage. So back over here, oops, that's GitHub, Xcode Cloud. We can also check in our status. It looks like 2 is in progress. And if we go to usage, we can see that we have one build created for 2 minutes, and our 30 average usage is, I guess, rounded up to 1 minute. So you can see the usage here. If you're on a team, there's probably a larger view here of like all the different things, which actually would be interesting to see across all my apps. I obviously don't use that much of it still. It resets on the first of the month. Yeah, it looks 25H. I'm guessing that's 25 hours allowed of everything. Interesting. Yeah, there's tons of stuff we can go. I obviously don't even have testing baked into this one, of course, but if you do use testing, like I think that's part of its first class citizen of this tool and everything. But if we jump down to here, it looks like archives completed. Let's see if there's any useful information on internal testing. I think it just set it and forget it. It's kind of like watching water boil, sort of. It's not the most exciting thing, but soon I'll have a test flight build that I can test. Obviously, about as quick as any other tool. It's obviously nothing that's super fast all the time. Alright, I've got an update for you on that last build that we were running. That we saw the archive succeed, but we didn't see the post action succeed, the internal testing, and so it was running, and it was like 34 minutes, and I realized that it shouldn't be that long. So I canceled it as it's actively running. You can I think there's a cancel button in the top right corner. However, I then investigated. I went to test flight to see if it ever showed up, and it did. And we get our friend missing compliance, which is not a not an uncommon thing for a brand new app to have, that you need to make a selection there, and then at that point it's ready to go. So that technically it's sort of succeeded, even though it didn't fully finish all the route. If I were to manually trigger a build again, which I certainly can, I'm gonna run that, and it should make it all the way through, I would imagine. So I will pop back in with one more update before the end of this video, where it should show the happy state of the completed post action that's distributed to the internal testing for test flight. And that did the trick. You can see here that we have finally the internal testing step checkmarked, and so we can see that it's been completed. If you look back at my test flight builds as well, you can see that this 1.0 build 3 build is assigned to this internal testing group. And yeah, so that's Xcode Cloud in a nutshell. Hopefully that was useful. There's definitely a lot more you can go into, obviously reading the docs and everything, but that should hopefully get you started on at least some basic projects. So thanks for watching.